Okay, we're Shrub Scrub. I'm Ariana Garnett.
Shalom, I'm Jordan Broyer.
I'm Lily.
I'm Cole McCullough.
Okay, so who are we? Laura. Okay, never mind. Who are we? We are a natural film company named Shrub Scrub. We stand for keeping the environment and your hands clean at the same time, naturally. And our goal is to help explorers and backpackers to be able to enjoy the outdoors while not harming it because they love it. So who is our market? Our market is backpackers, usually from the age of 18 to 40, in good health, who like to enjoy the outdoors. And since none of us are in the age group of our market, we decided that the first thing that we should do is interview our market to decide what they wanted and to see what they wanted from us, because we are not in it. So these are the results from our preliminary market interview. We saw that our market wanted a biodegradable, lightweight, and small soap to not fill up their pack. Either smelled natural or didn't smell at all, just a neutral scent, and was smooth and didn't lather much. So these are our competitors. These are just a full list of competitors that we found, and amongst these competitors we listed what aspects they had in their soap, and most of them were similar. They all had like a healthy pH, biodegradable, they were lightweight. There was other aspects that were also environmentally friendly. And so based off of the preliminary market review and looking at our competitors and analyzing what they had in their soaps, we decided that we would add most of the stuff that our competitors had in their soaps, and also add no dyes, had no added scents, just to keep the natural scents of the ingredients that we had in our soap, so that no unnatural scents would attract animals. We were going to make a bar soap, since most are liquid and liquid soaps can be messy. And we decided to use a small size because that's what our market had wanted. Plus backpacking only lasts a couple of days, and we didn't want to have a waste. So, yeah.
Okay, so our first design was based off of this picture. What we wanted to do was to create a bar soap that you could break off into individual little pieces, so that, for example, you only had to use one part of the soap without getting the whole bar of soap dirty and losing your entire supply of soap out in the woods after just 1 or 2 uses. You break off a piece, wash yourself with that piece, and then leave it in, say, a stream and forget about it. This was based off of our initial market feedback that suggested that we should have a lightweight and small soap. Okay. So, our first prototypes, we decided to first make our soap based off of lard, and off of either pure lard or a mixture of lard and coconut oil. These graphs show what we wanted to test. We wanted to test how brittle the soaps were, how breakable they were. And as it turns out, they were somewhat brittle, but not quite breakable. For the lard and coconut oil, one of them, we decided to vary the amount of NaOH we used in each of the soaps, and in one of them, it was pretty brittle, the other one was not so brittle. After this, we got pretty negative market feedback in terms of our lard-based soaps. Our market said that it was not only quite greasy and also somewhat mushy, they also did not like the smell, which some people compared to that of one from a deep fryer because of the lard. Because of this, we decided to nix using lard in our soap, and we changed to using 2 different ingredients, shea butter and coconut oil. The reason we switched to shea butter instead of lard is because not only is shea butter more brittle than lard, and as our testers found out, it also moisturizes the hands, and it is also smoother on the skin than lard. And this time we decided to change the amount of shea butter and coconut oil that we used and keep the amount of sodium hydroxide we used the same. And we decided to test our cleaning powers by having some of our group members use the soap. And as we found out, the half shea butter, half coconut oil combo cleaned much better than the 3/4 coconut oil, 3/4 shea butter, and 1/4 coconut oil combination.
Okay, so throughout our project, we remained in constant contact with our market to make the soap the best that we could to our ability. through this, we found that they, reaching off of what Ari said, they wanted a soap that was unscented and not dyed. We originally had a soap that was, we added some scent and a little bit of yellow dye, and through interviews we realized that they really didn't like this. It didn't seem as natural as they wanted it to be. They wanted a soap that was smooth and felt good on the hands as well as moisturizing. This is really important when you're in the wilderness. You need to stay moisturized because you could be in very dry climates. And they also wanted an all-natural biodegradable soap because you will be using it in streams that are constantly flowing in nature. And the pH had to be pretty natural in order not to affect fish or other animals. So we started with our original idea, as Sean said, the breakable soap, and we were really confident in this. However, after interviewing with the market, we realized that they really didn't like this idea. We don't know exactly why. It wasn't working out. They preferred a rectangular bar soap, and so we stuck with that idea. This is our final prototype and our packaging. As you can see, this is our soap, which we're passing it around. We actually put it into a piece of pipe that we found in Tom Flood's office as the mold. So we didn't need to make anything specific and really, really detailed because we wanted to keep it natural looking and healthy looking. This is our box. It is 100% recyclable, and it has a brown looking texture to it. It looks really, really natural. It can be reused for a lot of different purposes. Here's our label on top. We didn't print it out in green because it was more costly and ergo less eco-friendly.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, there were only a few competitors, and when you really get right down to what these competitors offer, it's not nearly as good as what we thought we could bring to market. You can see that while they're variable in costs, obviously Camp Suds is quite low, but it's liquid. That's kind of messy. And the amount that you can buy for $4 is it's tiny. It's not very much at all. So we decided that we could probably provide more soap for less cost and also make it more eco-friendly. So this is just sort of it's just a simple breakdown in case anyone was wondering about the cost of materials and the amounts of materials used. And the reason that we tried to go, I believe, that the reason that coconut oil and shea butter proved to be the best market fit was because they're a lot more natural and than some of the other potential materials, and also because they're not nearly as was said by Sean, they're not nearly as gross as lard. So we just tried to keep it simple, and I think that worked to our advantage. So our packaging, as was already mentioned, is 100% recycled and 100% recyclable, and that was very important to us from the outset to create a product that was eco-friendly in order to not only market it to our market, but also that we were comfortable with, because we didn't want to create a product that would go out in nature and harm the environment, because it's just not a good product for your market then. So we tried to keep packaging as low as we could, so its cost for the packaging, including the label, is $1.01. Most of that's for the box, and a very minimal amount of that is for the label. And as we said, we try to conserve on ink costs and ink usage. So in terms of labor, it was fairly efficient to produce these soaps. We could make quite a few, just 45 minutes of work. So the total cost of labor per bar is only 45 cents. And this is just a breakdown of our total cost. You'll see this figure broken down in more detail. That's the cost of production, and that is the selling price. So even though it's only a 24-cent total profit, we decided that if we were going to underprice our competition and also be a lot more natural and eco-friendly than they were, it was beneficial that we start off lower and then expand. And the amount of soap that you see there is a smaller fraction than what this is for, so this figure could actually be reduced. And there's, I'll talk about later, ways of reducing that figure there in terms of production costs. So here are the fixed costs for what this would cost to start. This is how much all of the materials that we used were. So our startup cost is relatively low when you really get into, the cost of starting a company and creating a product. And we believe that this, if we were to expand our market at even a relatively consistent but low rate, would be easy to do. So if we were only to sell 10 bars a week, it would take, at a consistent price, it would take a pretty long time because obviously that's a lot of bars. But even if we were to expand to only one farmer's market or small co-op a week, easily the time which it would take to recoup this, the costs would reduce. And obviously, this is off the $4.76 figure. So we're going to talk about bar cost. This is where we get $4.76 from. Now, as you can see, some of these, they're all pretty small numbers, but there are a lot of ways that we can make these a lot smaller because all of the things that we're talking about here, they weren't purchased wholesale. They were small individual tubs purchased through, not direct suppliers, but through outlets. So, there are a lot of ways in which we could make this less expensive to do. So, the future. Wholesale purchases is a way to drive price of production down. And if we were to keep the cost, obviously we'll be making a lot more per bar. In terms of expansion, if we were to expand our market by just a farmer's market or a small co-op every week rapidly, we would see profit. We would break even relatively quickly. And in terms of brand expansion, it would be entirely possible to create larger or smaller bars of soap and larger and smaller groupings of soap in order to change the prices accordingly. So that's really neat.
So where are we going from here? Our sole aim was to improve the packaging because no matter what, although if the box is recyclable, it will be thrown away at some point or disintegrate. So we wanted to look into maybe a box or container that was recycled plastic that you could actually put the soap in, which you could then put into your backpack. This would get rid of the box along with maybe a plastic bag that someone would use to put the soap in their backpack. You would get both things in one. So you would sell it in the plastic container, which you would then bring on your backpacking trip. We would then invest in more soap refined cutting devices because our soap right now, although we are happy with it, you want a soap that looks really clean if you're going to put it on your body. And our soap isn't exactly very clean cut. So to have a clean cut soap would be very important in our market because, yes, you want a soap that's really clean. So we are high school students. We're a small market right now, and realistically we would need our parents to introduce us to more people in our market. We would need aid from adults to get to this. We could then go to those people in our market, ask what we would need to improve on our soap, and then put this back into the improving section. Along the lines of that, we could also approach co-ops and local farmers markets and ask what we would need to improve upon our soap in order to make it a more effective soap that they would sell maybe in their store or in their market. And then again, put this back into the improving section and really, really perfect our soap.
Thank you.
Megan, you get to start us off.
I agree with you on the packaging. I think $1 per box is actually really, really expensive and very price prohibitive. There's a lot less expensive boxes, and I like the idea that you're thinking of doing it beyond the box. I was thinking that perhaps you could align, one place to start is like go to REI and look at what kind of portable tins and plastics that they have, and strategize the shape of your soap based on some of those that are existing, and perhaps you can align yourself with that, and you can sell your soap, possibly refills, and maybe you could expand towards your own brand of tin or plastic or something that's recyclable
feature that I forgot to mention, that we actually heard from our market, was to get a container, and then maybe sell in bulk,
Yes.
turn it into a liquid soap, so you could go and refill your container, without constantly purchasing a new container, obviously.
Yeah, so like with wet soap, the best thing is like a screw top, or,
Mhm.
which is even better than the snap lid, but something that actually screws in so that if the soap is some dampness to it, then you can feel safer, it's not gonna leak out into your
David?
Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys are actually outdoorsy backpackers? And how frequently,
Basically as frequently as I can, honestly.
and then is that kind of where you guys got the origin of your idea to design something for outdoorsy backpackers?
Our idea really came from a brainstorming session. We had a couple ideas, but they all kind of fell short of this, I don't know, common unity we kind of shared in this backpacking. We all felt, for some reason or another, pretty strongly about creating a product that would be eco-friendly and easy to use for backpacking.
It's really impressive.
What came first when you guys were like brainstorming? Did you decide you wanted to do a soap and then go from there what would be the best soap idea? Or did you come up with this idea and be like, this would be best in soap form?
We came up with the backpacking idea first. Well, we wanted, obviously with a lot of current events on the environment, we wanted something that was gonna really help.
Sam?
Alright, I don't wanna be nitpicky on financials, but like, so you've got like, was it 23 cent, 24 cent revenue per unit, which off the top of my head is less than
Yeah, it's,
10% profit percentage.
yeah, it's not very much, but it's
Well,
also
and that-
significantly less
what
than
I was
all
saying
other competition.
Is that's without, like, I don't think I saw like a cost for the location, paying for where you're gonna make it, as well as marketing. So if you were to put any money into, like, towards that, like, to like operate a stand, you should have paid for the location.
We didn't include marketing in the initial cost of production of the bar. We decided that if we wanted to expand, we would deduct that from the revenue as opposed to automatically include it in the cost of the
But
bar.
what I'm saying is, no offense enough, but there's not very much revenue to deduct that from.
I know, but it's, if you only take, I mean, in marketing for something such as this, which is primarily at farmers markets and co-ops, I mean, how much marketing does one really need? So if you were to only take a small amount from each bar, we're not, because the amount that we are paying to produce each bar is relatively high because it's not made wholesale, which could dramatically reduce the cost of creating a bar.
Also, one of our sole aims was to keep the environment happy. Profit is obviously really important in order for continuing our product in this line and making somewhat of a profit. But I mean, mainly it was to have a clean soap that worked and made our market really happy. Yeah. Oh, you tell.
What do you guys make of it? Like,
Yeah, the original design, we had a first original design of the logo, that garden design.
We had a lot of iterations.
Yeah.
And then Lily created a final design that we all liked more because we felt it appealed more to nature, and so I made that in Photoshop.
Shay?
I know, like, let's say I'm more of an avid backpacker than I actually am, and I am super loyal to this one certain, like, Castile soap that I have used in the past, and that is biodegradable and kind of targeted towards camping and such. What would you guys say to me to kind of convert me to your product?
well, first of all, we mentioned in our edge that it's most likely going to be a cheaper product than what you're currently buying. And in addition, it's gonna be more eco-friendly, that's our primary focus, really, even in some sense, before profit. So we're really, really out to make sure that the earth is gonna be a better place than you left it in, so. Kara?
I really like your guys' idea of soap, and I like the idea, I like the packaging, actually, even though it's kind of expensive, I think that it looks good and the soap fits. I just had a question on, you were saying that the liquid soap is like more messy than a bar soap. I went on like a youth trip and stuff, and I used a liquid soap, and it was pretty easy to use because you just like squirted some out, and I feel like with the bar soap, once it's wet, it might sort of dump out wherever it is. How would you?
We thought about that one a lot. That's why we originally had the idea to have the breakable piece. However, this kind of eliminates the spill factor, which it's not necessarily relevant. I mean, it doesn't happen a ton, but if it were to happen, I mean, it can really mess up your whole bag. And throughout interviews, we found that people would take it out of the box, put it in a plastic bag, wash, and then put it back in the plastic bag. So it would obviously be a little bit gunky, but it doesn't really take away from the whole idea.
That's also why we wanted a metal box or some kind of hard box and cardboard, but because of time we weren't able to get one. But that's why we would want one, so that the market could just take the box with them and then put it back in the box and nothing in their bag would get dirty.
Your brand looks really consistent.
So I go hiking as much as I can. I actually really like this soap because I can tell that it's high quality and that you guys put a lot of time into it, and it's cheaper, like a lot cheaper. Although you guys aren't making much of a profit, as Jordan said, if you guys bought more in bulk, you guys would probably be cheaper to manufacture, and you guys can maybe make the box a bit cheaper. But I really like it because I don't want to go out and buy like a $9 soap when I could just be getting a $5 soap that will do this job.
And reduction of packaging costs is obviously very important because in fact, I mean, the cost of the box, the fact that it wasn't like manufactured by us, we bought the box as it was, and those, it's pretty expensive to buy like a little one of those. So yeah, I mean, I don't believe that the cost of the packaging, which was factored in, is necessarily reflective of what would be possible if we were to make our own boxes. Foxy?
I have a couple of friends who are backpackers, and they say that usually they just go on trips that are maybe a night or 2 nights. And so they said that usually they don't bring soap, they might bring like some wipes or something like that. Why do you guys feel that this is going to be something that you like need to take or like should be a necessity or like a want or something to bring? Because I know that on like shorter trips, people are like, oh, like forget it, I'll just shower when I get home because it's such a short amount of time and you're in the wilderness, so why not go natural? Like, is that something that you feel like your market might be concerned about or like won't necessarily need this product?
Well, the idea of what a wipe is that, I mean, not, like, you don't want to leave wipes lying around everywhere because even if they are relatively environmentally friendly, it's not nearly as environmentally friendly as something that can just dissolve, and it's obviously impactful in nature, and it just doesn't look very nice. So, I mean, our idea would be that for those who are only making a night trip, this amount of soap is enough, and it's easy enough to use, and it's so eco-friendly that it's justifiable to get. And for those who are taking longer trips, it's an ideal product because of its eco-friendliness and because of its efficiency of cleaning. Yes?
Nice job in your presentation. I'm wondering, to help bring down your margins and address the backpackers that are not necessarily going for a long period of time, if you considered having a smaller bar of soap so that it's basically a single-use soap.
Yeah, we considered making, later in our expansion, making different sizes of the soap depending on how long your camping trip or backpacking trip or hiking trip is going to be. But yeah, we didn't get to that, but we were going to make smaller and larger sizes for people who are going on longer trips.
David? So what was your percentage markup of what it actually cost to what your retail price is?
We didn't do it by percent, but it's obviously not a very large percent, but that's because we wanted to.
7%. Okay, so at a theoretically around a 7% markup, how long is it going to take you to pay off your costs?
Well, that depends on your rate of expansion, obviously. It would take, at that current cost, if nothing changed, especially in cost of packaging and cost of materials, it would take a while if you only sold, say, 20 bars per week. But if you can even drive that number up by like 10 or so bars, then you will be able to have a little bit more profit to buy wholesale with, and then your costs go down. So basically, the more you can sell quickly, the more rapidly you will recoup the costs.
And I'm not sure what the average markup with soap is, but I know with like normal like technology and consumer goods such as like with clothing, there's about a 300% markup. So
Yeah.
would you guys consider in the future increasing your markup, because I mean you guys are barely scraping by a profit right now, and it's going to take you a considerably long time
Well,
to
as
break
costs of
even.
production decrease, our markup would increase just because of how much it costs to make. And we decided that we didn't really want to have a tremendous markup because the soap, part of its marketing potential is not only the price but its eco-friendliness. And we decided that the lower priced it was, the more people would buy this more eco-friendly product. So that's just a way of spreading the message of eco-friendliness.
But is it at such a low price? Because I know if I see something that is at an insanely low price, I'm gonna think it's just crap and not very functional. I mean, I'm not saying your soap is crap. Your soap smells amazing and it's high quality. But I'm just saying, if I were to see something besides of the soap that you have with such a low price, I would think it is kind of an off-brand, or there's something defective with it. That would just be one place where I would direct a little more concern in the future, would be to mark it up, because yes, a low price is attractive, but it passes a line where it goes from attractive to suspicious.
These, the price that we settled on was actually recommended by a lot of the interviewees.
Yeah.
And so, this was a response in part both to the message that we wanted to convey, and I totally understand where you're coming from. But it's also community driven. So,
Alright,
yeah, and people, another thing we found with backpackers is they want to keep their costs low just because they're out to enjoy the backpacking.
Yeah.
They want to do it as many times as possible,
yeah,
they
and
don't
I'm
want.
not an avid backpacker, so I don't really have that area of expertise with
Yeah.
comparing backpacking soaps, but alright.
This is just me being ignorant. You guys keep saying eco-friendly. What is it that is in other soaps? Like if I were to go and buy myself bar and soap, what is it that is in that is not in your product?
If you were to go buy a bar of Dove soap, it would have chemicals, scents, perhaps dyes, things that can wash down the stream and A, harm animals, B, attract animals, and C, poison like plants and stuff like that. Our soap doesn't contain things like that are harmful.
And then you have the label all natural or something. This is again me being ignorant, I genuinely don't know. But is NaOH considered all natural? Like, that doesn't sound.
I don't think we actually have the label all natural. I
It's
think,
clean naturally.
yeah. The idea is that NaOH is not in the amounts within this bar really going to harm the environment because they're acidic things to this degree.
We tried to find a good medium between a soap that would be powerful enough to clean difficult, caked on grime off of you if you're hiking and you get a lot on you, but that also wouldn't have a large impact on the environment, because that was our main focus.
Jay?
Alright, so I'm trying to clarify your market here, kind of narrow it down a little bit. I think this is really cool, it's a good idea, your presentation was excellent, the soap looks really, really good. But I'm trying to differentiate in my head, and so you're going to have to help me in terms of who you talk with kind of different types of backpackers. In terms of the biodegradable types of thing, I've seen spectrums. I've been on SAS trips where at the end, like, we made like mac and cheese and we just dumped it into a river, and they were like, it's fine. And I've also heard people say, anything you put, like any soap you put in, I don't care if biodegradable, it's going to affect the environment. Like, it does, like it's not really biodegradable, there's no such thing, it's going to affect it. So for me, like, and I think there's in the middle, the hardcore like camper type thing, the long, like I've been on long backpacks and Laura, you can help me out. I don't care about staying clean. You jump in a lake, like when you're out there. You just don't care about that because there's no point in caring because you're not going to stay clean. There's no point. That's kind of the whole thing if you're going for more than, so I'm kind of trying to figure out who's the person who's not going, like Lexi said, for 2 days and is not going for 7 days. If I'm going for 7 days, and I don't know if you're different, but I just don't care. Like if I feel bad, I'm gonna jump in a lake. That's what I do out there. So that's kind of on the other end, the person who really cares about getting clean out there. I wonder if they're going to be the same types of sensitive person who's going to be like, biodegradable, I'm not going to take that out to the environment. I mean, there may be somebody in the middle there who's kind of like, I want to be clean and I don't care about putting stuff in the environment. Do you understand what I'm saying? What's your take on that in terms of your market?
A lot of this feedback we got from our interviews went into this final product. We changed really something that we felt strongly about, the drinkability, solely on the fact
Who did you guys talk to? Like who?
Mostly adults that we were personally in contact with.
What kind of backpacking do they do? Like what?
It ranged from the 1 or 2 days, from just hikes to people who had experience with, 7 days or more.
And
So.
What age groups? 18? I mean, 20,
Yeah,
20s?
same age group.
Okay.
Parents who will stand and parents' friends.
I also wonder about whether there's a different market in here in terms of like the posh outdoors, but not really. So, for example, like the huts, like in the New Hampshire in the White Mountains, you go up there and you do hiking, or in Europe, you go and hiking and you hike between huts, and you go to the hut and they cook for you and they wash you, and I could really see something like handcrafted like this appealing to the people who run the huts, who would be like, oh, yeah, that's like handcrafted, like we're going to buy, that's all natural, like I would lump onto that. I can see that more than, actual backpackers.
That can be a potential market, and obviously it is high quality soap, it is handcrafted, and it is biodegradable, and part of its selling point is its biodegradability. You can just say, oh, it's biodegradable, I'm being ecologically friendly, and I believe in the market that you mentioned previously, that can be a huge point of sale.
And maybe an expansion. We look towards something like that.
Yeah.
So I've been to a lot of eco resorts in places like the Philippines and Greece, and I think there's a potential market for you there, where you are staying, you're not hiking around really, but you are staying in a place that has limited water resources and recycling water for you spray water in the toilets, they have limited water, they have to actually bring it in by boat, and I've been sort of surprised at some of these resorts that they actually provide you with bottled water. Some of the better ones actually provide you with a tin can that you have to go to the main restaurant area and refill yourself. And their soaps have ranged from coming and actually wrapped plastic once again. And then I'm always like, oh, here I am out in the nice eco resort, and I have this plastic waste that they're gonna come in and kind of clean my room and give me a brand new one again, that I haven't even finished the old one yet.
Having actually been to Belize and stayed in a place like what you're talking about, I definitely understand where you're coming from, where these places emphasize the idea of being ecologically friendly, and yet practice things that aren't. And I think both the cheapness and the actual ecologically friendly nature of our product would definitely help in that kind of
Yeah,
market.
I think that's a definite market that you could look into and be very appropriate.
We wanted to keep our market relatively open. We didn't want to pinpoint certain, like very, very close like backpackers or hunters or little kids that are going with their parents on trips. We wanted to keep it open because of profit issues, mainly.
I have a couple, so this is more of a thought question, you guys may or may not have an answer to it, but in thinking about how I would use a soap if I was going backpacking, or how, especially there's a lot of trend in like super lightweight and ultralight, and I think Gabe's right that if I was going on a long backpacking trip, I'm probably not going to be super concerned about like trying to take a bath, and usually I'm not even that concerned about washing my hands except for germs. Like if I'm if I'm going on a trip by myself or just myself and one other person, I might not even be that concerned. If I'm going on a big group trip, then I might be using some sort of like antibacterial to little hand sanitizer that you don't need water for. But it is nice to have soap for doing dishes and things like that. And one of your competitors, Camp Suds, their selling point is that you can use them for dishes, you can use them for body, and it's kind of a do everything, sort of like Dr. Bronner's. I'm wondering with your soap to make it maybe a bit more niche or a bit more marketable. A couple things you could look at. One is like how would you encourage the multi-use capabilities of it, so being able to use it for dishes and for body and hands. And then another interesting thing would be to look at kind of the density or the weight per use. So looking at the solid bar soap that you guys have versus a liquid soap. In general, it's true that a lot of markets are using a liquid soap, but when you're carrying liquid soap, you're by default carrying water weight, which we try to avoid as much as possible. In your soap, you're not carrying the water weight, so that's kind of a nice attribute of it. It'd be interesting to look at how much do you recommend, say, per hand washing use, how much does that weigh versus a liquid soap. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, through the interviews, we found a lot that people wanted a versatile soap, like you said. So because we have such simple ingredients in our soap and there aren't dyes, there aren't scents, technically it could be used for dishes, it could be used for really washing your hair. It's in that sense a little bit like Dr. Bronner's. However, that's not the sole aim.
Yeah. And one of our initial prototypes with the breakable pieces actually kept that notion in mind, that we'd have a brittle soap that had rough edges so that we wouldn't need a scrubber or something to wash your dishes off. We thought about at some points putting some sort of rougher material in the soap that was all natural, but that would act as a scrubbing agent. But instead we opted to do just a harder soap overall, so that it could retain that when it's cleaning dishes or etc. Yep.
I've seen a product that, it's more in the spa category where there's soap flakes that actually look like grated pieces of cheese. I'm wondering if there's any possibility there to have like pellets or flakes that you have a very controlled amount that you use, that when you add the water then you have just that much.
I think that's a good idea. It might be a little bit too to compact it. You wouldn't really get what you pay for in that thing. So maybe like in spas you buy it in bulk and you get what you pay for. But we wanted to sell this in a relatively small box.
In addition, that wouldn't be able to achieve unless you brought an additional scrubber or something that you could really grade out the tougher, deeply caked dirt. And that's why we opted for the harder stuff. So, but yeah, that's an excellent idea.